Hello, good evening. Welcome to Narayana IAS Academy. My name is Yogesh Kottavar. I'm your faculty for the daily news analysis. Today, we are going to discuss three most important articles from The Hindu and Indian Express. One article is very important from mains perspective. Two articles are highly important for prelims. Now, look at this article. The first article, which is mentioned on the page number 6 of The Hindu, it is it says having private participation in India's nuclear energy. Now, this topic is highly important. Nuclear energy, UPSC has several times asked question on nuclear energy. It is important from the economic and scientific perspective also. If you look at it from science and technology perspective, nuclear energy is important. Nuclear reactions are important. You need to know about nuclear power plants that are there in India. And if you look at it from the economic perspective, there also nuclear energy becomes important part of our economy. Now we have second article, which is there in Indian Express. It says Indian elephants lost genetic vigor as they moved north to south. Five distinct populations exist. Now, there is a study which has claimed that there are some elephants which used to live in India earlier, but they migrated to the southern part of India. And these elephants are facing some kind of a problem in terms of diseases. Maybe they are so much vulnerable than other elephants. So we'll understand what is the reason. There is some genetic angle to it. We'll understand that. And there is third article mentioned on page number 10 of Indian Express, the La Nina shadow. Now, La Nina is an important phenomena which you read in your geography. El Nino and La Nina. Many students get confused with this. So here we'll understand what is El Nino, what is La Nina, and why it is in news. Because recently a study has claimed that there is a linkage between La Nina and the air quality. You know about the air quality we have, especially in the regions of Delhi. There is very poor air quality, especially in the winters. Now, scientists are saying there is a relation with La Nina mechanism. So, we'll understand why it is happening. What is that linkage exactly? So, these three articles we'll be discussing. I request you, if you have any question, any basic query, if you're not understanding anything, please ask. Please mention that in the comment box. I'll take the comments repetitively, maybe after few minutes. Once we come up with one topic or we cover one slide, I'll check the comment box. Please ask the questions. Okay, so let's start with the first article. This is related to India's nuclear energy. Now, see, we have energy security, we have energy sector. Now, most of the students do not know what is energy. When I'm using the term energy, it simply means either the power or fuel that we are going to use. For example, for every modern activity, we need some kind of a fuel or power. Let's say here I'm teaching you. For that, there is some camera. For that, there are some lights. For that, we have the smart board. This smart board works because there is electrical supply to it. That electricity is providing the power or providing the energy which is required for this board to work. Now, not just this board. If you want to go from one place to another, you use your bikes, you use your vehicles. Those vehicles are mechanical devices which are operating on the crude oil or the petrol, diesel. Now, these petrol, diesel, when they burn, they generate some kind of an energy. So, whether you look at this mechanical energy, whether you look at the energy that is there in the form of electricity, all of this comes into picture. All of this is what we are talking about when we are using this term energy. Now just imagine, do you think our economy, our modern lifestyle can continue without this energy? No, obviously we need energy. So we have different sources of gaining energy. One of that source is the nuclear source, or we make use of nuclear power plants from which we generate electricity. So here specifically we are going to discuss this part, the nuclear energy as part of our economy, as part of our energy generation process. Now this is important for mains as well as prelims. Some factual part will be there which can be important for prelims, but specifically for mains. Now look at this previous year question. It says, with growing energy needs, should India keep on expanding its nuclear energy program? Discuss the facts and fears associated with nuclear energy. So very direct, straightforward question. Should India go ahead with expanding its nuclear energy program? But for that, you first need to know what is the nuclear energy program, what is the stage in which we are actually right now, how much energy we are getting from the nuclear energy part. All this fact you first need to know. Then they have asked about the fears also. That means what kind of challenges there can be. All of this, if you know, only then you can write this answer. Okay. So let's discuss the article. Now, what has recently happened? Recently, Government of India has said that we are going to expand our nuclear energy sector. Our plan is that till now we were focusing only on the government sector. We said that this nuclear energy is very important and it will be more or less controlled by the government only. There is no role of private sector, and now government is saying that we are thinking we can bring in private sector and making use of this private sector in the nuclear energy. So this is something new that is happening. So recently when even the budget, when budget speech came, in that budget speech also, Nirmala Sitharaman specifically talked about small modular reactors. The design or the research and development part of that small modular reactors will be done by the private sector. This is what she said. That means government is bringing some kind of a new reform in this. Okay. Now, what is this small modular reactor? We'll understand. But right now, just focus on the part of energy. Now, as far as India is concerned, the energy which we are getting, whether in mechanical form, through oil, through crude oil or natural gas, or whether we are getting from any power plant. There are multiple kinds of power plant, thermal power plant, hydropower plant. Most of the things, if we are just combining everything together, all of this energy, then we can look at the data from which source we are getting maximum energy or the lesser energy. Now look at this. We are getting 56%. This is data for India and this we have taken from Ministry of Power. So 56% of the overall energy is coming from fossil fuels. Now when I say fossil fuels, it includes your crude oil, it includes your petroleum products, it includes your natural gas, all those things. Apart from that, we have some renewable energy sources. So if you look at the solar energy, that energy is coming from sun directly and it is renewable. You can renew it. See, if you are using any fossil fuel, let's say you are using oil, there is a limit of oil. Na? You can come up with oil, but at one point of time, this oil will completely be extracted and there will not be any kind of oil left. Or if I have to give another example, the major source of energy in India right now, especially if you are generating electricity, more than 50% of our electricity comes from thermal power plants use coal. Now, coal is also a fossil fuel. Now, this coal, when you are using, what they simply do is that they burn the coal, and after burning the coal, some water is there. That water starts boiling and some heat comes up, some steam comes up. That steam, that steam leads to rotation of a device called turbine. So steam will come and it will rotate the turbine. If you want to just generate electricity, the best way is this device, you use it and just rotate it. Now this is not a normal device. You cannot rotate it with your hands. You need power, you need energy. And when you have immense quantity of coal from which you are getting immense quantity of steam, from there you can go ahead with just rotating this turbine from which you will get the electricity. Now I am saying even the coal, there is a limitation. How much coal you can extract from doing the mining, there is a limitation. This source is not renewable. But if you look at the solar energy, the energy you are getting from sun, it is not limited. The energy will keep on coming. So this is a renewable source. Or even you are using the wind energy, that is also renewable source. So right now India, when we are talking about the entire energy source, 41% is coming from renewable energy. This is the recent data. And now the specific part which we are going to deal is the nuclear energy. We are only getting our energy, only 3% of that energy is coming from the nuclear energy, that is the nuclear power plants. That means certainly we are not gaining much, but that's why we are discussing it, that nuclear energy is a good source. It is considered to be a very clean source. Why? Because when you are using, let's say, coal, which is a fossil fuel, what happens is that when you burn the coal or when you burn this oil, the petrol or diesel, you see some kind of pollution. So carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, many greenhouse gases, they will become part of your atmosphere, which is not good for you, obviously. Now that's why you said that the global warming is taking place. So instead of using fossil fuels, we'll use renewable sources. But there are some limitations with the renewable sources. Let's say you want to make use of solar panels. But is it possible to use solar panels everywhere? Let's say today you have decent light over here, but maybe tomorrow it is raining continuously in the monsoon period, or maybe you're living in an area where the sunlight is very less, very scarce. In that region, can you use it? So there are some limitations when it comes to these renewable sources. But nuclear energy is very unique. If you are using nuclear energy, if you have a nuclear power plant, from there, first of all, you will get immense quantity of electricity. The volume will be very large. And second thing is that it is considered to be a very clean energy. That means you're not getting any kind of pollution, any kind of carbon dioxide, etc. from a nuclear power plant. So it is considered to be a very good solution. And right now, the demand for electricity is continuously increasing. So we are looking at nuclear energy as one of the best solutions for us. Okay. Now, let's move ahead. Let's look at what is specifically this nuclear energy. So you must have heard about nucleus. You must have heard about atoms. That anything that exists in physical form, it is made of atom, right? If you are, let's say, even this pen which we have, if I zoom, if I check the smallest unit from which this pen has been made, that smallest unit is the atom. For any substance, you will find that. Now, if you zoom the atom, let's say this is an atom. There is a nucleus in that atom, right? Now, if we have this one atom and we have another atom, and the nucleus of atom 1 interacts with nucleus of atom 2, if there is an interaction, some kind of interaction, okay, that reaction leads to immense energy. Let's say if I combine these two atoms, these nucleus are combined, this leads to generation of energy which we cannot even imagine. So just imagine the nuclear bomb. When USA used nuclear bomb on Japan, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, you must have heard about it. That bomb was making use of the same technology, wherein two nucleus were combined, or there are two methods. One, either you are combining or you can split it. So USA had used the similar mechanism, or even any nuclear bomb, you will have this kind of mechanism. Now let me tell you, there is a difference. There is a term called nuclear fission and there is a term called nuclear fusion. This is very, very important for you to understand how nuclear reaction actually takes place. Now simply, let's say we have taken a nuclear one atom which is nuclear fissile, or we can say which can generate energy, not electricity, energy. So what we'll do, we'll take one big, large, heavy atom. Now this is, we can say, let's say we have taken plutonium, okay, or you can take even uranium. Now if you take the atom of this plutonium or uranium, they are very heavy, they are very dense, and they are larger in size. Here you can see. And now if I divide, now this atom will have one nucleus. If I divide this nucleus, if I divide this entire atom into two parts, which is not an easy task, scientists will do something very interesting to do this. But once it is divided, it is split into two different parts. So there will be atom 1, atom 2, there will be two different nucleus. And this reaction will generate immense amount of energy. Now after some time, what you'll do, you'll divide this nucleus into two, this into two, this will be divided into two, this will be divided into two. this is how a chain reaction will continue. That means this reaction will not stop. This is the reason you see this nuclear reaction continuing. So this will lead to a big blast. This is what you can actually imagine. This reaction we are calling nuclear fission. You are splitting it into two parts. This is nuclear fission. Not just two, you can even go for 4, 6, maybe more than that. This is nuclear fission. Now, the nuclear power plants that we have in India or even in other countries too, most of these nuclear power plants are using this same reaction, nuclear fission. This is how they are generating electricity or power. So simply, immense energy will be generated. Again, there will be water which will be heated up, steam will come out and turbine will be rotated. So remaining mechanism is similar, but we need that heating, we need that energy which is coming from nuclear fission. Now, there is another reaction, that is nuclear fusion. Fusion, what we'll do, we will take two smaller, less dense, less powerful than this one, these two atoms, and we will combine the nucleus of these two forming one single nucleus. Now this is also very difficult, and if we do that, if we are combining it, this will also generate immense energy, and this is called nuclear fusion. Now right now in our power plants we are not using this technology, but this technology is there in the sun, in the nucleus of sun. So if you look at sun nucleus, it's corona and all those parts, continuously nucleus fusion is taking place on sun. That is why you are getting so much heat from sun. We are at a very far distance from sun, still we are getting that energy. So you can imagine what kind of energy can be generated from nuclear fusion. Now right now many scientists are working, many countries have come together and they are planning that we will make use of nuclear fusion in power plant. This is very tough right now, and this project is right now named as ITER. Many countries are involved in this. If this project becomes successful, we can say that the electricity problem from the world will be completely resolved, because you will get immense energy, so you will have continuous electricity supply. Clear? So you have understood what is nuclear energy, what is nuclear fission, what is nuclear fusion. Now as far as your nuclear bombs or atomic bombs are concerned, you can make use of both technologies in those atomic bombs. For example, the Hiroshima Nagasaki bomb, they made use of nuclear fission. But in case of hydrogen bomb, you can make use of fusion. Okay? Now, let's move ahead. Please, if you have any question, please ask. Now, this nuclear energy is there. Now we want to make use of this nuclear energy, especially for our electricity generation. Okay. Now here in India, we have some legal framework. We have two different laws. Those laws are very important when it comes to nuclear energy. First of all, please understand, if this nuclear energy, if someone is controlling it apart from government, let's say a private person, a normal person, he gets the access of nuclear energy who can generate such a large quantity of energy in just 1 second, 1 microsecond. He or she can destroy the entire city in few seconds. So do you want this energy to be there in the hands of a private person? That is highly risky, especially not in the hands of terrorists. So in India, we have this law, Atomic Energy Act 1962. Now at that time, government was very clear that we will not give access to private sector. We will control it. So this act, specifically section 3A of this act, it clearly mentions that only the central government will be producing, developing, using and disposing atomic energy. That means the power is not even there with the state governments. Only central government has the power. Whether they want to produce it, develop it, use it, whatever they want to do, they can do it. Now to do it, not central government means not directly prime minister will not be doing it. Obviously there will be some agency. So they will have some agencies. For example, in the central government, you have Department of Atomic Energy. A special department has been made. This department does not report to any ministry, rather they directly report to the Prime Minister's office. So very interesting, very autonomous kind of institution, we can say, relatively. And we have this some public sector units or some companies which are directly working. For example, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, NPCIL. So central government will make use of these agencies to produce nuclear energy, to build that nuclear power plant, and just go ahead with generation of electricity using nuclear energy. Clear? So one thing we understand, here we do not see much role of private sector, right? Government is controlling, specifically central government. Now, after some time, we saw one case, Sandeep TS versus Union of India and others. In this case, Supreme Court made some clarifications. Supreme Court said that it is not that private sector will not have any access. They will have access. They can work in the field of nuclear energy, but only in the non-critical sectors. Now, what does this mean? This means in case government is building a power plant, let's say NPCIL is building a new power plant, which is going to generate electricity using nuclear energy. In that case, there will be some tasks which can be done by private sector and that will not give them access of nuclear energy directly. For example, for building the infrastructure of nuclear power plant, they can make use of a private sector company. For the design purpose, they can make use of them. So government is not directly giving them access to that nuclear energy or uranium or plutonium. Just for other not so important, not so critical tasks, they are making use of this private sector. So this was said by Supreme Court that in these non-critical sectors you are allowed to act. But when it comes to the core part, core work, you have no access. It will be controlled by the central government only. Clear? So this act is important. Now there is another act, Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act 2010. Now this is important because this act came into picture at the time of US-India nuclear deal. See, if you remember, when Pokhran 2 test was carried out in the leadership with the leadership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, at that time many countries put sanctions on India. Just like right now we are seeing sanctions on Russia, on Iran, on North Korea. Similar kinds of sanctions were put on India also. After which Indian government diplomatically engaged with many countries, specifically United States of America. And at the time of Manmohan Singh ji, we saw an agreement taking place, which is civil nuclear deal. So at that time, it was very clear that India needs to have some domestic law. In India, there must be some law related to nuclear damages. Let's say, in case a foreign company, let's say a company from USA, invest some amount of money or some capital in the nuclear sector of India, or they are providing some nuclear sources. Let's say we need uranium or something related to nuclear energy from USA, we are getting that. So the supplier is from USA. So here in India, if we do not have any specific law which gives some clarifications related to any kind of accident, let's say suddenly there is an accident in that nuclear power plant. So who will pay for it? Because of the accident, let's say many people died, some a lot of damage has taken place. Now who will pay? Who will pay the compensation? Whether government will pay, whether this company from USA will pay, or the company in India which was operating everything, let's say NPCIL, that company will pay. There should be some clarity in your laws. So USA pressurized. So after that, India came up with this law. This is the law, Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act 2010. Now what this act specifically says, look, here are three members. First, you have an operator, for example NPCIL, who is operating this nuclear power plant, who is taking care of almost everything. Okay, you have someone coming from USA, let's say you can call them supplier. Okay, they are providing something, they are supplying something to this operator. Let's say some devices they are giving, some nuclear fissile material they are giving, anything they can provide. Some material is coming from them, operation is done, everything is done by NPCIL, right? Now here, when these two entities are involved, and third will be your people who will be affected by whatever these people are going to do. Now let's say they built a power plant. After some time we saw a big disaster. The nuclear power plant exploded and the entire city got vanished, entire city got destroyed. Now the question is, who will pay the compensation, who will pay for those damages? The act clearly mentioned that the sole responsibility of paying the compensation lies on this operator, because the operator is the sole responsible entity. So operator will have to pay. Now there is a chance that because of nuclear power, see, nuclear power is very dangerous, so there's a chance that the destruction is so vast that even this company is not capable of paying that much amount. So what government did, they provided a cap. They said that to a certain limit, company will pay. If the amount goes beyond that, in that case, government will pay for it. So government said we are bringing a fund, a specific fund, and we will allocate amount from that fund. So responsibility was clear that it will be for the operator only. Now look at the things from USA's perspective. USA will be very happy that even if we are investing and if something goes wrong, we don't need to pay, only operator will pay. And even if you look at many international conventions, they also mention that the responsibility should be there only with the operator for such damages or accidents and not with the supplier. Okay, but now there is an interesting thing. If you look at this particular act, it says that even if the responsibility lies on this operator, the operator will have to pay for that moment. But later on, after inquiry, if this operator feels that this incident, this accident took place not because of our mistake, but because of the mistakes done by this supplier. The supplier, the USA supplier, provided us a damaged product, a wrong product, and because of that product or that material, we saw this accident taking place. That means there was no mistake from our side, it was the mistake from the supplier side. So what will happen according to this law? First, operator will pay, but later on, operator can go for right to recourse. That means they can ask for that compensation from that company of USA. So this is the clause which is very interesting. This is the clause which is highly debated. So most important point is, we said that in most of the international conventions, the responsibility has been put only on the operator and not on the supplier. But Indian government brought the law wherein they have put responsibility on both sides. And here now just look at this thing. If USA is helping us build a nuclear power plant and later on something goes wrong, there is a chance that USA will have to pay back the amount. So do you think investor will be much interested in going ahead with such kind of investments? No. So this is something highly debated when it comes to India-US relations, or when it comes to any kind of civil nuclear deal. And I was saying that there are many conventions which are mentioning that only operators should be responsible. The example is this Vienna Convention on Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage 1963. Then Paris Convention on Third Party Liability in the Field of Nuclear Energy 1960. So these are good examples for you to study. Clear? Now, moving ahead. If you have understood this framework, now I'm saying that right now government is saying now we need to think to reform things. We need investment. We need our energy sector to grow. Why? Because right now we have a very high energy demand. Our population is increasing, our economy is growing. We need energy. For that, we need nuclear energy, we need more investment. We have some commitments to decarbonization. So you must have heard about Paris Climate Agreement and all. We have made some commitments to the international community that we are going to reduce our carbon dioxide emissions. We are going to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And to do that, you have to shift, transition from this fossil fuel based economy to the renewable one. And it is not easy to transition, and nuclear energy can be one of the best solutions to go ahead with it. And if we want to modernize our nuclear energy infrastructure, for all of this government of India thinks that we need nuclear power plants. Maybe we need to make some changes in our laws. Now then Niti Aayog also came into picture. Niti Aayog said that, sir, we actually need private sector involvement. We need to increase their role, because if you put all the responsibility only on the government, this is not going to work. And India also has a target. Right now, I provided you the data that only 3% of energy is coming from the nuclear energy sources or nuclear power plants. India has set a target that we will increase it to 9 to 10%. This is the target, and obviously to achieve it, we need investment. So we are saying what we can do is that if you do not want to rely completely on the private sector, go with some joint venture, go with some PPP kind of model, public private investment, public private partnership, wherein some work will be done by NPCIL and some work will be done by the private sector. And don't give them access to that core roles. Give them the access to only these non-critical areas. So if we do this, we can go ahead with it. So there was one report also from Niti Aayog and this DME, Department of Military Engineering. They said that, sir, we can come up with the idea of small modular reactors. Now this is very important. What is small modular reactor? Normally, if you look at a power plant, nuclear power plant, this will look like this, bigger in size, very large, and you will get immense energy, immense electricity from this. But to build this plant, you will require a lot of capital, lot of investment. You will require a lot of time, and the process itself is very complicated. So a new suggestion came into picture which said that instead of building this traditional big nuclear power plant, let's build some small power plants. And these are something we are calling as small modular reactors. So you can say a small kind of a very small nuclear power plant. Obviously, you will require less capital. It will be very flexible. You don't need to build it at the same location. You can build it in your manufacturing power plant and then transport it to the location where you want it to be transported. So such smaller modular reactors can be generated. And see, if any disaster takes place, let's say this big nuclear power plant, some kind of a disaster took place just like Chernobyl, in that case there will be very high destruction. But in case there is some kind of a destruction due to a small modular reactor, the impact will be very less. So we are saying this one is very safe, relatively safer and better option. And what India can do, the research and development part of this small modular reactor, the designing part, all of this can be done by the private sector. So recently, when budget speech was there, in that speech it was announced that we are going to build Bharat small reactors, Bharat small modular reactors, and we are going to work on nuclear energy technologies making use of the private sector. So this is the entire story. I hope you understand how private sector's role is increasing in this nuclear energy. Clear? Now, let me check if you have any kind of doubt. So what are the major side effects of nuclear disasters? The first side effect is that many people, many animals will die directly, simply because when a nuclear reaction of a large scale is taking place. You can watch that movie called Chernobyl, a movie or web series, I don't know. You can watch it to understand what kind of an impact you can see. Suddenly the entire city may get devastated. It's not just about that people will die. You will see that the radiation will go on, the radiation will stay there. Even the land which you have, let's say you have a farm, you have an agricultural land, because of that nuclear radiation you will see that the land will become useless for centuries. Even if people have not died, some people did not die, but because of radiation there will be some changes in their genetics. When they will give birth to another child, the child will have some kind of deformities. So nuclear disaster will have so many effects, so many effects. Okay, so we do not want to see any such thing happening. Okay, now we have understood the scope of private sector. Now we are moving ahead with the challenges. What kind of challenges? We already know these things. I'll just tell you in brief. First issue lies with this liability concern in that act. We said that there will be liability on the supplier. That's why the investors from foreign countries, they'll say that we don't want to invest, we don't want to go ahead with it. So if nobody will invest, how are you going to build our small modular reactors or even the traditional nuclear power plants? So this is a concern. Okay. Second is the issue with the regulation. Now this is an administration problem. What happens is that disasters usually take place because of some kind of error from our side. And the error takes place because of lack of accountability, lack of transparency. When everything is not known to the larger public, when the transparency is not there, something may happen. So we are saying there should be transparency, but transparency will only be there if the institution who is regulating is very much powerful, is very much autonomous. It does not depend on the government, it is completely autonomous, just like our Supreme Court or Election Commission of India. Here, in case of India, what is happening? We have this regulatory body, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. Now, this board directly works under the Department of Atomic Energy, the same department which directly reports to Prime Minister's office. So, we are saying you are anyway under the government. So, how can we expect you to be highly transparent, highly autonomous? It is not at all possible. So, there were talks going on that we need an independent regulator. So, after some time in the parliament, one bill came, Nuclear Safety Regulatory Authority, NSRA. Now, this bill said that we will bring an independent regulator. But what happened? The bill did not pass. It is still pending. This is a big problem for us. Next challenge lies in the capital cost. To build a nuclear power plant, you need investment. A very high cost has to be paid. And it is not like any other business. Normally, what happens when an investor is investing some amount, he expects that the return should come in future as early as possible. Let's say I'm putting 1,000 crore in something, I'll expect within 6 months I should get my money back. I should get the profit. But in case of nuclear power plants, if you're building a traditional nuclear power plant, the process itself takes so much time. Maybe it will take 3 years, 4 years, 5 years to build this entire plant. After which it will start working. After which your electricity will be generated and sold, and then some money will come. So the investors think that the gestation period is very long. I don't want to invest in this. So this is a big concern when it comes to private sector. Then there is issue of public perception. Public has observed the incident of Chernobyl. Public has seen that such events can cause catastrophe. And right now, many environmental activists, whenever you say that we want to bring any nuclear power plant over here, the environmental activists will simply say we don't want it. Why? Because the catastrophe can be very dangerous. So if you want that private sector's role should increase, first of all, you need to ensure that the public perception is positive towards these power plants. If it is negative, you cannot allow even private sector to build a plant. There will be protests, there will be problems. And at last, there should be some clarity on the policy side. Government sometimes says we will bring a regulator. Later on, the bill stays as it is. It is pending in the parliament. Government sometimes says that we are going to have a law which is investment friendly. But later on, government says no, the damage should, for the damages, the supplier will have to pay. So there is no clarity. So government needs to come up with some policy which gives clarity about everything. Investor needs clarity, only then the investor will invest. So these are the challenges private sector is going to face when it comes to investing in the nuclear energy part. So as a way forward, whenever you are telling some challenges, you have to provide some solutions to. So few solutions could be address this issue of liability concern. Either government should discuss with these suppliers, negotiate, and then come up with some solution, address it. Either there should be some insurance mechanism that in case any kind of accident takes place, there will be an insurance company who will pay for it, not the supplier. Supplier will just pay some premium for those insurance. Such mechanism can be there. Then some regulatory reforms. For example, you can bring this bill, you can bring an independent authority who is going to regulate. So even the investor will trust your mechanism. Then you can go for public-private partnership. Why? Because you don't want to completely rely on the private sector. You don't want to give almost everything in the hand of private sector. So go ahead with public-private partnership. And for the private sector to come in, you have to give them some incentives, give them some tax holidays, some subsidies, something if you provide them, then only they will come forward. And if the public outreach is there from the government side, if government will come up with some campaign, some educational campaign, some awareness about the power plants, then only people will also accept it, the perception will become positive. And at last, what government can additionally do is they can strengthen their international collaboration. They can go ahead with international community, come up with the standards which are similar to international community. In other countries also, if the similar laws exist, and in India also similar laws exist, then there will not be much problem, much friction. So all of this can be done when it comes to India's nuclear sector. I hope you have got the point what I'm trying to say. I hope now you have a clear picture about India's nuclear sector. Okay. So if you have any doubts, please ask, or else we will move ahead with the next topic. No doubts? Okay. So the next topic, this is related to Indian elephants. Now this is important for prelims. You just need to know what is Project Elephant, what is the genetic diversity issue which scientists have just shown. And you should know about Indian elephant, African elephant. It becomes important specifically for the prelims. Now look at this previous year question. This has been asked in the year 2020. With reference to Indian elephants, consider the following statements. The leader of an elephant group is a female. The maximum gestation period can be 22 months. An elephant can normally go on calving till the age of 40 years. Among the states in India, the highest elephant population is in Kerala. Now, even if you do not know many facts, sometimes you have to go for elimination. If you know the factual detail, whether it is more in Kerala or Karnataka or any other state, then also you can eliminate and come to the answer. But for that, at least you should know something. Okay, now look at the context. What is exactly happening? Recently, a study was conducted. The study said that in India, elephants are there since thousands of years. But some elephants, they migrated to the southern part of India. Now, what happened with these elephants is that the genetic diversity with these elephants became low as compared to other elephants. Now, first of all, what do I mean by genetic diversity? You can understand in this way. We have genes in our body. Those genes carry some information. See, I have black hair because there are some genes which give this information that there should be black color of my hair. So now if there are so many genes in our body, in that case, those genes are going to decide many things. Let's say I get ill due to a bacteria, due to a virus or something. Whether my body can sustain it, can become resilient towards it, that also depends on the genes I have. And when it comes to genes, there is a possibility there can be one animal who has similar kinds of genes, and there can be another animal who has some diverse kinds of genes. Now, please understand, the evolution has shown us that any animal species or anything which has a diverse genetic component in it, the genes are very diverse. That species can live for longer. That species can fight with the diseases. Let's say there are 10 diseases, 10 different kind of diseases. This animal is in a position to fight with only one or two because it does not have genetic diversity. But this animal maybe maybe having that mechanism in which it can deal with at least 8 of them, maybe 9, maybe 10 also. So this species is relatively stronger than this one. So if there is any species which has lower genetic diversity, that species is a weak one. That species is vulnerable to many diseases, may be vulnerable to become extinct from the planet. And this is what is happening in case of Indian elephants who have migrated towards southern part. This is the study what it is saying. Now, first of all, some brief understanding about the elephants. I know you all know what are elephants, so I'm not going to tell that. But one important thing is that elephants are keystone species. What is keystone? You can think like this. Let's say there is an ark. You are building an ark. Please understand, when you are building an ark, one stone is there over here, and this stone is very important. If you destroy this stone, the entire ark will be destroyed. It cannot stay intact. This is a keystone. Now, similarly, when it comes to the entire biodiversity, entire ecosystem, we have so many species, so many animals. There are some animals, if they die, then the entire ecosystem will collapse. Let's say best example is your tiger. Why are we trying to save tigers? Because there is a mechanism, there is a food chain, food web that has been established, that there will be some plants which will be eaten by the deer will be eaten by the tiger. There is a mechanism. If the tiger completely gets exhausted or is not there on this planet, what will happen? The number of deer or the other animals will increase, because of which the entire ecosystem will be in an imbalance and everything will be destroyed. So to save ourselves, we are saving tigers. Now, when it comes to elephants, we are saying they are also keystone species. If all the elephants in the world die, then maybe even humans will not survive, because the ecosystem will collapse. And here, these elephants are of two types. One type is African elephants, another one is Asian elephants. Obviously, in India, you will find Asian elephants. Now, there is a key difference in the African elephants too. There are two different types. One is African savanna elephant, another one is African forest elephant. Savanna, those who do not know, you can just look at one of the image that I have added here. This is the savanna forest. Savanna is a grassland. So here you will find the grassland. Okay. And when it comes to forest, here you can see this forest. So the African elephants living in this forest region, this is a different species. This one is another one. Now these one can migrate more than the forest one. In forest you can't migrate more. But when you have such kind of a grassland, it is open. The migration will be more. Now, the data shows, the IUCN list shows us that the African savanna elephants, they are in the endangered category. Whereas the African forest elephant, they are in the critically endangered category. Interesting. And as far as our Asian elephants are concerned, they are in the endangered category. Now, if you go to South Asia or Southeast Asia, everywhere you will find these Asian elephants. And as far as India is concerned, out of all these Asian elephants, 60% of these Asian elephants exist in India. Very interesting figure which you must know. Clear? Now, moving ahead. Just a second. Now, all of these elephants, they are facing some problems. First problem is the poaching. There are many poachers who kill these animals for the sake of some amount of money. So they will get that tusk of the elephant, they'll sell it and they will earn money. But for that, poaching is done. Sometimes their habitat is destructed. Habitat means their home. So what we are doing, we are destructing, we are uh, clearing the forest, and we are building our urban lands. So the forest land, if it has been destroyed, then the home of this animal is destroyed. And many a times we observe human wildlife conflict. So sometimes the animal gets into conflict with humans, and to save the human, sometimes people kill the animal. So this kind of things happen. And after some time we came to know that the number of species is decreasing, and because it is an important species, we started working on it. So Government of India in the year 1992, they came up with Project Elephant. The primary goal was we have to save this species. Just like Project Tiger, this species tries to conserve this species. So to conserve, whatever efforts are required, they will do it. For example, they'll protect the habitat, they will maintain the corridors from which elephants go, elephants migrate. So all of these actions are taken. Okay. And now, as far as the genetic diversity angle is concerned, what happened that there were many elephants in India. Let's say there were 100 elephants. Out of 100, we are saying that 10 elephants, they went to southern part. Now what happens is that now when these animals mate, they go for giving birth to another elephant or the baby elephant. They have only these 10 elephants. So they have lesser diversity. So even the newborn child will not have much genetic diversity. So with time, their genetic diversity will decrease, because here they were 100, now they are only 10. So genetic diversity decreases because they have got isolated from the entire population. And this effect, you just need to know the term, this effect is termed as founder effect. Whenever out of entire population some chunk gets out, becomes isolated, and they breed, and because of which their genetic diversity reduces, this phenomena is called as founder effect. That's all. This is all you just need to know about this elephant. Clear? Now, is there any doubt? No doubt. Good. Now, the next article, the third, this is about La Nina. Very important. You just need to know what is El Nino, what is La Nina, and overall the term is called as ENSO. And recently scientists have said that there is some relation of La Nina with the air quality that we have in India. So you just need to have a basic idea about this as atmospheric phenomena. Now, look at this previous year question asked related to La Nina. La Nina is suspected to have caused recent floods in Australia. How is La Nina different from El Nino? La Nina is characterized by unusual cold ocean temperature in the equatorial Indian Ocean, whereas El Nino is characterized by unusually warm ocean temperature in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. El Nino has adverse effect on the southwest monsoon of India, but La Nina has no effect on the monsoon climate. Now, this means simply, first of all, you just need to know what are these phenomena and what kind of impact they may have on Indian monsoon. If you know this, then you can answer this question, right? Now, we have already discussed what is the context. There's a discussion that air quality has some relation with La Nina. Let's understand how this mechanism takes place. Look at this world map. In this world map, I have brought Pacific Ocean in the center. Now, this Pacific Ocean, this is the eastern part of Pacific and this is the western part of Pacific. Now, in the normal times, what is the phenomena that takes place in the normal times? In normal times, you will see that this area of Southern America, this particular region, usually this region has low temperature, and if I have to be more clear, there will be high pressure. You anyway read about pressure and temperature mechanisms in geography as your basics. Now I'm telling you the advanced thing, that normally in this region you observe high pressure, and in this region, this is the Eastern Pacific, this is Western Pacific. So in this Western Pacific region, here usually we say low pressure. Okay, high pressure, low pressure, and geography tells us that the winds will move from high pressure to the low pressure. You will see some rainfall in this low pressure region. So here you observe rainfall, and here you do not see much rainfall as such. There will be cold conditions over here. Now, one more thing happens in this case is that because of all these mechanisms, some water movement will take place over here in such a way that there will be a new phenomena that will take place, which is named as upwelling. Upwelling, what happens is that the water that is there in the lower level, look at this area of South American coastal region, the water that is there in the lower level, it will come in the upper level. This is called as upwelling. This usually takes place. It is very good for the fishing zone. What will happen, there will be nutrients in the lower layers which will come in the upper layers. Because of those nutrients, you will see more fishes existing over here. So for the industry of fishing, it is really good. Okay, now whatever I said, this is the normal mechanism. Now what happens after every 3, 4, 5, 6 years, we don't have the exact details, but after every few years we observe some change in the system. suddenly system change in such a manner and it becomes completely reverse. What happens? Earlier here we saw high pressure and here we saw low pressure. Now reverse thing happens in which this region becomes a low pressure region. Okay, and this particular region becomes high pressure region. Now what will happen? Wind will move from high to the low pressure. So here there will not be any rainfall, rather you will observe rainfall in this region, right? Instead, in this region, you will see conditions of drought. There will not be much rainfall. Just like in monsoon period, we have rainfall. But in the monsoon also, instead of normal rainfall, you will see lesser rainfall in this region. And this also extends even towards India, but just understand over here right now. So the mechanism has got reversed. And even the upwelling which was taking place over here, that will not happen. Because upwelling will not take place, the fishing industry will also not get benefit of it. So overall, everything got changed. This is the phenomena of El Nino. In the year in which this is happening, we call El Nino year. Clear? Now what happens? Again, the climate changes after 3-5 years. This phenomena will sustain for maybe a year. And maybe after 3-4-5 years, again things get reversed. Again things start becoming reverse. Again high pressure will be built over here and low pressure will be built on this side. So this mechanism is termed as La Nina, the word which we are using, La Nina. So just to revise, this is the normal year, normal mechanism. In El Nino, it reverses, which will cause some kind of a drought condition over here and rainfall, very heavy rainfall in this region, that is Eastern Pacific. Okay. Now, one more thing that will happen, this will impact India's monsoon. How? In India, the monsoon can become lesser because of El Nino. Why? Because this pressure system even affects Indian pressure system. The trade winds which go on, that will be affected. Because of trade winds, we see monsoon taking place in India, the monsoon rain coming to India. But if this changes, this mechanism changes, that affects India in such a way that in the year of El Nino, India will see drought-like conditions. We will not have much rainfall in India that year. And obviously, if the phenomena changes and it becomes La Nina condition, I hope you can now answer it very easily, that if there is La Nina condition, it will definitely affect India in a good way. That our monsoon will be positive. We will have good rainfall. Maybe we will have more rainfall. More rainfall is obviously good here, right? So this is the circle. This is how the cycle goes on continuously. And all of this cycle in one single word is termed as El Nino Southern Oscillation, or in short ENSO. In short, in just one word, we are telling the entire story. This is El Nino Southern Oscillation. ठीक है? Okay. Now, this is just a factual information. Whatever I have said, the same thing has been mentioned. That the period for El Nino would be somewhere around after 3 to 5 years. This will occur, last for 9 months, 12 months, maybe even for more. There is no exact clarity available over here. Similarly, for the La Nina, there will be impact on this side, on that side, both. And there will be impact on Indian monsoon. So this data clearly shows in the year of El Nino, there will be 70% reduction of the rainfall in the Indian monsoon. Very interesting, because the winds which flow, they will be disturbed. There will be some changes in those winds. Clear? Very easy, bit technical, but easy. So any doubt, let me check. No doubts, very good. Now we said that recently a study is claiming that there is some relation of air quality and La Nina. Now please put everything aside and think about La Nina year, wherein things are coming to the normal condition again. That means in La Nina we said Indian monsoon will be better. we will have more rainfall in the year of La Nina. So this study is saying that this La Nina has a positive impact when it comes to air pollution also. What you observe when it comes to air pollution, especially in Delhi and especially in the winter season, there is very high air pollution. And what happens is that if there is a rainfall, suddenly if there is a rainfall even for few hours, you will see that the pollution level will come to a lower level. Why? Because there are pollutants in the atmosphere, you can say. Because of rainfall, those pollutants will be dispersed for some time, at least for some time. And if the rainfall is continuing for many months, maybe the monsoon, if you're talking about for 3 4 months there is very high rainfall, then you will see that even the cities like Delhi will have air pollution in a very low level, which is good, very good. Second, if the La Nina is delayed, now La Nina is a good thing for us, but in case instead of coming in this month, it comes in next year or maybe after few months, this delayed mechanism then can have dangerous impact on the air pollution. So the air pollution will continue, the wind will be very much stagnant, especially in the winter time. So this is a bad thing for us. And third, there will be some interaction with other factors. So when it comes to air pollution in Delhi, we see that the major reason lies in the stubble burning that takes place in Punjab and Haryana. So after the harvesting has been done, the stubble which is left over material in the farmlands of Punjab and Haryana, the farmers just burn it. And after burning it, whatever pollution is coming up, that goes to Delhi. And because Delhi has a system in which the surface wind is very much stagnant, the wind remains there, and this is why we see pollution level increasing. Now we are seeing that if there is La Nina which is either delaying or there is some delay, a longer delay, and now it is added in this stubble burning, this is also being taken place. There are some local level emissions in Delhi. There are many polluting vehicles, they are also polluting. Monsoon pattern has got changed. So everything, when all of these things combined happen, that impacts air pollution, that increases air pollution. This is what the study is trying to say. So this is just a conceptual analysis or conceptual understanding you should have about La Nina and air quality. Clear? So we have covered all of the three articles in detail. Now let's discuss some practice questions. Now these practice questions you can directly go to the Navigator website. You can just type Narayana IAS on Google and reach out to the Navigator website. There you will have the option directly to go for a quiz. So this test you can directly attempt on the website. Okay. Now let's look at this question. Which of the following is not a characteristic of the La Nina phenomena? La Nina, and it has said not a characteristic. Okay. First, cooler sea surface temperatures across the east central equatorial Pacific. That is true. High air surface pressure in eastern Pacific. That is true. Stronger trade winds than usual. Now, even if you do not know this, look at the fourth option. When you even do not have clarity on one of the line which is mentioned, then look at the another one. Can you eliminate? Weak upwelling over the west coast of South America. We said that in the La Nina, it is similar to the normal phenomena, wherein the upwelling will be very high in the Southern American region. They are saying there will be weak upwelling. Simply the statement is wrong, and it has asked about the wrong. So the answer is D. Very clear. Okay. Now next, question number 2, with reference to elephants, consider the following statements. First, Asian elephants are classified as endangered by the IUCN. Now this is absolutely right. This is a factual thing you must know. Elephants are considered keystone species due to their role in maintaining the biodiversity of ecosystems. I told you this. This is also true. Answer is C, both 1 and 2. Clear? Now look at this mains practice question. Very important. Examine the role of private sector participation in India's nuclear energy expansion with a focus on the development of small modular reactors. So you have to talk about SMR, you have to talk about private sector's role, you have to talk about India's energy sector in total. I would suggest start with India's energy sector. Start with the recent demand, the growing demand. What are the needs? Why we are talking about it? If you mention that, or even you can mention about our budget, in which this small modular reactors, about which this budget has specifically mentioned things. Even you can quote that Niti Ayog report. You can start with this. In the body part, they have asked about the role of private sector. So mention the role that in the non-critical sectors we can make use of private sector. We can go for joint venture. We can go for public-private partnership. We can even develop these small modular reactors, and private sector will bring some innovation. So all of this can be done very easily, and there will be much investment, which will ensure that our budget constraints are solved. Then you can mention the challenges. Challenges, I've told you all the challenges. The liability concern under that act, the high capital issue because of which the entrepreneurs or the investors do not make investment in it. Mention that the regulatory issue, that we do not have an independent regulatory body. Mention all of these. Then give a way forward or a solution. What all we can do, how we can solve all of these challenges, how we can focus on this SMR development, small modular reactor. This is how you can end this answer. Clear? I hope you got the point. I hope you understood all of these articles. Okay. So thank you so much. If you have any doubts, please ask. I'll wait for a minute and then we will wrap up the session. So no doubts. Okay, though, so we will just close the session. Thank you so much for joining. If you want more updates, please connect with our YouTube channel. Thank you so much.